Good afternoon. We're about to get started. I'm going from the Director of the Public Information Office. Today we are joined by Jasjit Singh. He is the Executive Director of the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, Chief Cathy Lanier, Assistant Chief Pat Burke, and Joe Persicini from the DC Police Foundation. We'll take a few questions, and I'm going to turn it over to Jasjit.
Thank you, Gwen. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, Chief Lanier, obviously, and the MPD for hosting this event. Today, the MPD becomes the first major metropolitan police department in the country to proactively allow Sikh Americans to serve as full-time officers with their articles of faith. The police, this policy, which is announced, represents a significant step forward for civil rights, a step forward for religious freedom, and a step forward for the law enforcement community. It is fitting that we are here today during National Police Week, when we honor the sacrifices of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. And now Sikh Americans will have a similar opportunity to serve their communities with valor, dignity, and honor. It was over 100 years ago that Sikh Americans came to this country. Today, we join our counterparts across the world in being able to protect our communities and proudly wear our turbans and keep our beards while doing so. These are signs of our commitment to equality and public service, the same values that law enforcement holds dear and the values that MPD uniform represents. Today's announcement is especially significant when we consider that just 9 years ago, our community had to sue the City of New York City for the right to be a traffic officer. Today, it's the nation's capital which is inviting us to become full-time, full-fledged police officers. It's a great matter of pride. We encourage Sikh Americans to take full advantage of this historic announcement and consider a career with the MPD. It was 5 years ago that we began this journey. We began cultural awareness trainings regarding Sikh Americans with the MPD and their forward-thinking curriculum of making sure that we understand the differences that represent the communities that we serve. Since then, 4,000 MPD officers have gone through Sikh American cultural training. So we would like to thank those who made today's announcement possible through their tireless work and commitment to a stronger city and better policing strategies. First and foremost, Chief Cathy Lanier for her strong leadership in this effort. Of course, none of this would have been possible without her stewardship. Also, Assistant Chief Rodney Parks, Commander Solberg for their support, as well as Joe Persicini, who has been a great friend of the organization for many, many years. I'd like to especially thank Assistant Chief Patrick Burke, who was immensely helpful in getting us here to this point. And from within our community, we have some pioneers which we would like to recognize. Two in particular, Sardar Baltej Singh Dillon, who our community knows as the first Sikh officer in the Canada Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and Jasjit Singh, the first Sikh American Reserve officer in LA County Sheriff's Department. We owe both of these individuals a debt of gratitude for their support and assistance throughout this process. In closing, we congratulate MPD on affirming that religion has no bar in public service, and we hope that other police departments around the country will follow their pioneering leadership. We look forward to seeing Sikh Americans across the nation serving their communities and protecting their neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Myself sometimes that in my lifetime, women were not allowed to ride in patrol cars here in Washington, D.C. along with men, and now I'm the chief. So it's really kind of amazing if you think about how far we've come in such a short time, so I'm not that old. But, you know, really, if you think about this policy shift for MPD, it just really makes sense. You know, it is very, very difficult to find highly qualified police officers. There are very rigid standards. You have, you know, physical standards, medical standards, academic standards, educational standards. They all, you know, to get recruits through all that process, and then to think about something as simple as an appearance or grooming standard that would prevent somebody who is talented enough to meet all that other criteria, it really just doesn't make sense. So to me, this is a common sense decision. It's important that we have representation for all of our communities around Washington, D.C., and I'm real happy that we were able to get this policy through. And I would like to also recognize Joe Persicini, who's been a friend of MPD and helped us, make some of these connections to move our agency forward with the DC Police Foundation. Thank you, Joe. Okay. But this is really a significant day for us. We actually do have one officer in the reserves who is very happy about our policy change, and Chief Burke will talk about that a little bit. But to me, when I get questions about why the policy shift, my first thought is, why not? It just doesn't make sense. So I wouldn't be standing here today if there wasn't policy changes years ago as a police officer, much less as the police chief. So I'm very proud of MPD and very proud of our partners in the community that work with us, and I'm looking forward to continue to improve our police department, be the best we can be in our community. I'll let Chief Burke make a few comments.